Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chad Novak, and I am here representing the Saskatchewan Taxpayers Advocacy Group, which is a grassroots organization proudly standing up for the rights of individual taxpayers. I am also here as a candidate for Ward 4 City Council in this fall's municipal election. I want to first say how pleased I am to see that the federal and provincial governments are stepping forward in helping out with some major infrastructure projects in our great city. I am confident that these projects that have been assigned to this funding are both necessary and welcomed by all city employees, all the way from the front line, all the way up through to the top. I am sure that these will make their jobs so much easier and thus provide a more peaceful work environment for everybody. I want to take a moment, however, to express my deep frustration with this City Council and City Administration with regards to today's surprise and special meeting. I am deeply concerned with how this was kept from the public last week in what I can best ascertain as a way to not spoil the public announcement that occurred on Friday. Now, I feel that in the interest of full transparency for all citizens of Regina, including those that are running in this election, this kind of information must be made publicly available as soon as possible. Now, at the latest, this would have been Wednesday, September 14th, 2016, when these issues were considered in a private session. Of course, it would stand to reason that these kind of funding arrangements don't just happen overnight, and therefore it would be safe to assume that this has been known for several weeks, if not months, by City Council and or administration. And thus, I am very disappointed with the lack of transparency on such major expenditures, regardless of where the funds come from. Now, on to the point of the special meeting today, I feel obligated to ask, why was this issue deemed so time-sensitive that it had to have its own special meeting today? Why could it not wait until next City Council meeting scheduled for only 1 week from today? Further to this, I have the following questions that I hope City Administration can provide further information on. Why were these items considered in private session? What is considered so confidential about them? Why does it suggest that the city only applies for funding now? It would sound as though through the funding announcement, that the funding announcement has already been approved by the announcement on Friday. Please elaborate on the full application process. Were the items discussed in the public session on September 14th from the previous, were those items from the previous government's Building Canada Fund? Was the announcement earlier this summer regarding the federal funding for the transit facility also from the previous government's Building Canada Fund? Now, as per the documents before you today, on page 7, you will note very clearly that it states that our reserves are meant to respond to unexpected emergencies and revenue shortfalls. Further to this, it states that reserves enable the city to smooth the effect of spending decisions that impact property taxation, finance unexpected and emergency spending requirements, minimize our use of debt to fund projects, and support the city's credit rating. Now, I have to ask then, how exactly do these projects fall into those categories? And were they included in the 2016 operating or capital budget as approved earlier this year? If they were included in the budget, how were they expected to be funded? Surely projects of this magnitude have been planned for many months, if not years, and thus a funding plan ought to have been determined at that time. Any extra funding that we happen to receive from the federal and provincial governments should then be considered as a windfall for us, and should actually be a boon to our finances, as opposed to a drain, as is outlined before you today. Now, unfortunately, based on the lack of transparency through this entire process, it would appear that this is more about a spending spree by the current City Council simply to buy votes, rather than actually focusing on the long-term needs of our city's core infrastructure. I want to thank you for your time, and I certainly would have more to talk about with regards to this issue, but well, since this was done so last minute, I have not had nearly enough time to dedicate to this matter as it deserves. I will gladly answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Novak, for your presentation and the questions of the delegation. Councilor Fraser.
Thank you too, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, thanks a lot for your presentation.
Thank you.
Lots of questions in there. If you could sum up the top one or two that you'd like to ask the administration. Thanks.
That's a hard one. I think the most important questions I have here today is, why is this being done on a special meeting today rather than in a week's time? It was considered at the same meeting last week where there was public items addressed. And then the second thing is kind of give us a better background, not just for me as a candidate, but also for all taxpayers to get a better idea of exactly what the process is. Because we had the announcement on Friday which said, well, here's a whole bunch of money for you. And now in this process today, we're being told that we're going to apply for funding of certain projects. So I just want to make sure that, you know, I mean, it seems a little kind of wishy-washy to me. And I'm quite informed in this whole process. I can only imagine what it is for the average taxpayer out there. So,
Okay, thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you, Council Fraser. Other questions of the delegation? You can return to the gallery.
Thank you.
So Michael will not-